Easter is a holiday of miracles. It is life from death, joy from sorrow, celebration from mourning. Easter reminds us that all is never lost, that the story continues as long as we are here to tell it. So gather up your worries. We are going to bury them beneath the ground and watch them transform into flowers of hope, pushing through the earth, reminding us on Easter morning that love brings us back to life, calls us from sadness, from grief, from anxiety, into a world renewed and alive and filled with joy once again. Those are words of colleague Peggy Clark. I invite you to rise, embody our spirit, and join in singing I'm sorry. No. Did it again. I invite you to enjoy this beautiful introit. Thank you. All right, welcome again, everybody. And now I'm going to come down here and Miss Sue Shortman, if our director of religious education, if you'll come forward, and we want to turn our attention to the beauty in this corner of the sanctuary. The exact origin of the Easter egg tree is not known, but it can be traced to Germany. It's also popular in Poland and Hungary and Austria. Probably came to North America with German immigrants to Pennsylvania in what is now known as Dutch country, Dutch German.
We know the egg is a universal symbol of rebirth, reflecting themes of spring and resurrection central to the Easter season. Whether painted with joyful colors, inscribed with messages, or left beautifully simple, each egg carries a piece of someone's spirit and story.
In Saalfeld, Germany, for 50 years, Volker Kraft decorated an apple tree, adding more eggs each year as the tree grew. A year before the tree tradition ended in 2015, it held 10,000 eggs, all of them decorated by members of his family. The largest egg tree on record, though, was in Santa Catarina, Brazil. In 2017, the pecan tree held 82,404 painted eggs.
The tradition at First Parish is not quite as long or as big, but it has been cherished by this congregation for many years. In just a minute, we're going to ask you to come forward to hang your eggs on the tree alongside those from the past that are already up. We'll ask the children and their grown-ups to come first, and then we'll invite others.
By doing this, we continue the living tapestry that grows each Easter morning. The tree, once bare, becomes a joyful bloom of color and tradition, reminding us of both continuity and new beginnings.
This cherished tradition invites people of all ages to contribute a symbol of hope, renewal, and new beginnings to a living display that grows more vibrant with each passing year. Hanging the eggs together reminds us that we are part of a shared journey, each adding our own colors to the community we create together.
And let me just say that if you don't have an egg of your own that you've brought, we have eggs here and over by the tree. Beautiful, beautiful things that have been made in years past. They're very delicate, so be careful with them, but take one if you like and hang it on the tree. And we're just going to do this quietly to some music.
So if children and their grown-ups could come up first.
And now, if any of the rest of you would like to follow the children and edit, you're entirely welcome to do so. There are lots of people.
Annie, what's it? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. What's it?
It's lovely that you're here. Thank you. Okay. And now, thank you, Ed. And now, thank you all. And may the hopes for new life and rebirth that you bring through the day become real in the coming year. Now we're going to sing the children out. The children and those with them need to go downstairs to get their bags before they go outside to hunt a whole lot of Easter eggs that are hidden out here. You know that I always have something to say about giving and appreciation and what we contribute at this point in the service. And this morning, on this joyful Easter morning, what I want to say is the reason and the only reason we ever want you to give of either your resources or your heart or your time or your energy to this church is not because you have to or you're obligated to or you feel guilty if you don't, but simply out of joy and out of the fact if you do, that you love this congregation, you love this community, and you love the values that this Unitarian Universalist faith stands for. The morning offering will now be gratefully and joyfully accepted. Thank you for your offerings. The first lesson this morning is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16, verses 2 through 6. This is the first, the earliest, and the sparest of the Gospels, the stories of Jesus' life, birth, and life and death, and it's my favorite. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?" When they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. But he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He's not here. Look, there is the place they laid him."
Thank you to the choir for that beautiful, beautiful piece. The second reading this morning is entitled, "Did the Sun Come Up This Morning?" by Victoria Safford. The dead shall rise again. Have you seen the trees? Have you seen the maple buds? The magnolias swelling? Poplars, the first lacy, pale spray across the shoulder of the hills? The forsythia, or as one child I know calls it, the three-scythia or two-scythia. In those three small, flowering, perfect crabapple trees in the park, strong little trees begging children to climb them and get lost for a while in their magical pink canopies. Did you smell the rain this week and the muddy, ready earth receiving it? Did you smell the musty, lusty, moldy pile of leaves, all thawed now, and underneath the moist and living earthworms wide awake? Is it safe, I wonder, to presume that we have all seen the dead resurrected? Can we presume, just quietly among us, this basic fact? Can we admit, however carefully at first, however foolish it may sound, that once or twice in our lives, or perhaps over and tumbling over, we have seen events miraculous? Choose the words you will, whatever words you need. If miracle cloys, try unexpected, surprising, unanticipated, or lucky. Or that which has been given us, that second chance, that second wind, by the grace of God knows what. The dead shall rise again. We know because we have seen it. We don't know, and never will, where the leaf's strength comes from in the spring. We don't know, and never will, entirely, where our own strength comes from. But we have known despair, excuse me, some of us, in deep discouragement, some of us, in discord of the mind and heart, or disasters in the body or spirit, or both. We have known dead hope, dead courage, dead caring, dead will, dead faith, dead vision, dead power, deep winter. And we have felt, perhaps, when we least expected to feel anything at all, our own slow blood stir in the vein like the maple sap, and something very small and tight within begin to swell and open up, urgent, imperceptible at first, then undeniable. Love lives again that the dead has been. Did the sun come up this morning? No thanks to us, and all for us. And did the earth awake again, or did it not? We will testify to resurrection.
I think this morning, with so much beauty that we have heard and that we see, and the sound of all those children outside having just a gorgeous time, I think we'll just take a moment of sacred silence together to celebrate what we can in our hearts, to ask for life to come again, for where we feel it is needed, to be inspired for how we can bring light and love to our world. Let us enter into the silence. May our hopes and dreams take flight on the wings of love. Amen. Blessed be. Last Saturday morning, when I left Maine to drive down here, snow was falling, the visibility was low because of fog, and ice pellets began to drop around to Kennebuck. It was amazing then to arrive here in Duxbury and see forsythia in bloom and daffodils and even the early stages of pink trees budding. And I wondered for just a moment, had my commute finally taken me over the line into a parallel universe? But oh, what a joy to see the promise of spring. Because it's on a liturgical calendar, Easter can come in the cold, windy days of mid-March or the warmer, windy days of late April. In truth, though, Easter comes when grief turns to peace, absence to presence, despair to hope, loss to memory, doubt to wonder. Easter, in reality, is an event here, not a date or a place. The story of Easter is one of rebirth, of love. After Jesus in that last week has overturned the tables, the money tables in the temple, and gathered his disciples for a final meal after speaking a lot of truth to power, he's executed for treason. And what were his crimes? Simply his teachings. Love your enemy. give to the poor, embrace the prostitute. The despised Samaritan might be the one who saves your life. Love of each other and of good, not loyalty to empire, is the greatest value. That's what he taught. The teacher's story, as my colleague Dan Schatz says, is that of a man who taught by his words and example that the most hated people in his society were also sacred. As the stories go, 2 days after his death, Mary and Mary Magdalene, the faithful women, discover that the teacher's missing from the tomb. And later on a road, a few of his followers meet a man that they don't recognize at first, but eventually realize is Jesus. These people had stumbled, in a way, into a parallel universe, a separate reality. Imagine the confusion and fear, and then the joy of starting to feel that love had persisted. Whatever you believe about the myth of the story, but that love and the teaching of love had persisted. And I will tell you honestly, for much of my life, I struggled with this story and its meaning. It took me a long time to understand that metaphorically, it tells of what can happen to the soul of any human being or group of people who live on this earth. When tragedy strikes, we wonder, why us? Why this? How do we survive? When loss happens, we grieve. How can we live in the world again? When we are crushed by ignorance or cruelty, we despair. How do we get things back right again? But whether it takes 3 days or 3 decades, love proves stronger than cruelty, and the world comes alive again. Such new life happens for real people. Ilse Grebenschikoff and Anne-Marie Warrenberg had been very close friends, young girls, when Hitler came to power in Germany. With many activities forbidden to them because they were Jewish children, they spent long hours together at each other's houses, telling stories, playing games, creating a deep bond between them. They got through the trauma of Kristallnacht and the arrest of Anne-Marie's father. Now, eventually, Anne-Marie's father escaped, and both families separately managed to flee the country. Ilse's family to China, and then here to the US, and Anne-Marie's to Chile. Ilse's life unfolded with marriage and children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But she said that her friend Anne-Marie was always on her mind, always on her mind. She scoured databanks for her name, and every time she could, she would ask anyone, especially at universities or colleges, do you know anybody of this name? Do you know what happened to her? When she began to give public talks about her experiences in Germany and China, she always asked if anybody knew anything. She could not know that Anne-Marie had settled in Chile and changed her name to Ana Maria. Anne-Marie, too, had married and had children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. During those years, she looked for Ilse, not knowing she had changed her first name to Betty. She was haunted by her friend's absence. In November of 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, Ana Maria came as a guest speaker to Steven Spielberg's Shoah Foundation, which takes taped, videoed testimony of survivors. The woman's story caught the attention of one young researcher who began to look through the foundation's archives And there she found Ilse's testimony, in which she mentions Anne Marie and says, I'm always wondering if maybe she's somewhere and can hear this. With more digging, the researcher found that although their appearances had changed and their names have changed, and they maybe wouldn't have recognized each other, the two women were still very focused on each other. Imagine Anna Maria and Betty Schock when told of the discovery. Imagine the joy. It was such a miracle, said Betty. A virtual reunion, thank goodness for Zoom, was set up. And when they signed in and saw each other, they immediately began talking in German. It was as if no time had passed, the two friends said. And their families joined the call. Everybody celebrated. And both women said it felt like they'd never been torn apart. Their love was so strong. They set a date to talk every week, exchanged email addresses, and then they planned to meet each other's families and share meals when the pandemic was over. The two friends had survived. Their love had survived, and each was leaving a heritage of generations of persistence. Now, I hope that these two Jewish women who endured so much at the cruel hand of tyranny and remained so faithful to each other would not mind my telling their story on Easter of all time. I do not attribute any theology of Easter to them. They are Jewish, and their spring salvation is Passover and the liberation of their people at Passover. But the teacher, himself Jewish, would have understood the hope embodied in two human beings who survived contempt with a sacred love that rose again long after the tyrants had gone. It was the kind of rebirth that can come to people of any faith or no faith in any season in which the best of being human flourishes under a rising sun. We can believe in the sun. Love lasts, and in its own time, new life comes. Would you rise in body or spirit and join in singing number 270 in the Gray Book, O Day of Light and Gladness? our ushers come forward, or one of them at least, to extinguish the flame, please. And when Lester extinguishes that, would you read with me the words which are printed in your order of service? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. In your life, may you know the holy meaning, the mystery that breaks into every moment. May you live at peace with your world and yourself, and may the love of truth guide you in your everyday. Amen. Those were the words of Mark DeWolf.